that underground legend, but slightly more successful than that.
Okay, we're perfect.
Alrighty.
Alright, so the first question I wanted to ask you, what is CTC all about and what do you represent?
CTC is honestly, like, a lot of people get it confused. It's my homie's brand, Chris. He runs the whole operation. I'm just kind of like, I fell in love with it from the rip when I met him in 2018 and just kind of really pushed it. And now it's more of like, we're all brothers behind the scenes as far as like anything, but like CTC as far as it goes is like a clothing brand.
Okay, so you just kind of represent it, maybe kind of consider yourself sponsored?
I mean, it's like weird. It's like I'm more than sponsored. Like I'm a part of the brand, but at the same time, it is like those are my bros. You know what I'm saying? Like those are all like Chris, Ben, Colby, the dudes that like we all push that shit with. Those are my best friends. So like at the end of the day, CTC aside, like those are the dudes that I just ride with in general.
Okay, cool. So initially, what inspired you to become a musician?
Shit, that's going back ways right there. I want to say I was like 12, 13, and one of my good close homies that I'd met played guitar and shit. And that's initially what inspired me to get into music. Like watching him play, I think it was Green Day's Brain Stew. Watching him play that shit was like, it was mind-boggling to me because I'd never seen anybody play guitar in person. So like that inspired me. I got my first guitar that like following Christmas, and then just practiced my ass off just so I could play guitar with him. That was like the initial inspiration.
Nice. Do you currently find any inspiration from upcoming artists?
Yeah, like a lot more of them are like a little more established than myself, but I definitely like there's a few artists like MK Ultra, Suicide Rascal, the homie Shunned, Jase is another good one. Artists like that, NASCAR Aloe, he's another one that kind of, he definitely inspires me as far as like, all those artists just really are themselves. They push out this like, just super dope music with a super dope kind of person behind it.
Right. So going back, looking on your younger years, what was like some of the first shit you heard that made you just like, I want to do that?
The very first song I remember ever like truly sticking out to me was a song called Drowning Lessons by My Chemical Romance. It's off their like very first album. Before they had like the I'm Not Okay Helena sound, it was like this more like raw post-hardcore kind of vibe. And it was like, I just remember hearing that and then going over to my homie's house like a week later, and he learned it all by ear on guitar, and I was just like mesmerized, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to make music that makes people feel like I felt hearing that riff for the first time.
Right. Talking about Ohio and your local scene, I've seen a lot of talent come out of there, and I've even worked with some of them. How would you sum up your local scene? What are your thoughts?
See, Ohio is such a weird place musically because, like, everybody that you know from here, we're all so spread out, minus, like, a few of us. You got, the homie Jigaboo and, like, Davey, they're both up in, like, the same area. Then you got, like, Plague and, Mantis and Anthony, they're all in the same area. And then I'm just kind of, like, in between both of them. Like, they're, like, a couple hours either direction that I want to go. So, like, the local scene where I'm currently, like, located is there's very, very few artists, let alone, like, any actual scene.
Okay.
So, for me to travel a bit, whether it be, like, Akron, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, to link up with those dudes to be able to prosper the way, like, a city, say, Atlanta or Chicago could.
Okay, right. Is there anyone in Ohio you think isn't getting enough recognition that we should check out?
Yeah, my homie Suicide Rascal. He's out of Cincinnati. I became aware of him last year when I went to the Sesh Hollow Waterboy show. Me and my girl Wade, and him and his homie Patrick Tombstone opened up for Sesh Hollow and all them. So after that, I kind of like fell out of his music, whatever. And then he started working. He did a song with Lil Darky from Spider Gang, which put him back on my radar at the time because I was bumping hella Lil Darky. And ever since then, I've just been like following this dude, like genuinely following him. The thing with the scene that we're in is there's so many artists and there's so much different music that it's like it's hard to find something that you really, really mesh with. You know what I'm saying? Like, something that really speaks to you on a level of like, oh, that's got like hella replay value for you. You know what I'm saying? And Suicide Rascal is one of those artists that like everything he drops, from like soft melodic shit up to his like more ignorant rap shit, it's always a vibe. He's got a super, super unique image and a super unique voice, plus having actually good music is just all in all a plus. So I would say definitely like Suicide Rascal is one to look out for in Ohio coming up.
Sweet, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I was gonna ask you. Sorry, what?
I with him called Austin Powers that I dropped last year.
Oh, I did hear that.
Yeah. He's the dude on that song.
I was gonna ask you. I've noticed throughout your music, you kind of have a few different kind of flows and styles. You can kind of just have fast bars, or you can kind of just do some yelling, fucking fuck your face type shit. And I was wondering, which one of those is your favorite to make, or do you just kind of like to blend them all?
I've always said like I make music off of whatever emotion or vibe that I'm currently in. So like if I'm energetic and I'm hyper, you tend to get like that more aggressive side of me, and it comes from growing up in the hardcore scene. You know, like one of the things that I always found hilarious was like these dudes would get on stage, they got these super beefy low vocals, they're fucking screaming about Satan and all this other crazy shit, and then they get off stage and they're just these super like laid back chill dudes. You know what I mean? It's like it was always so funny. It'd be like the smallest dude out the whole venue would end up being like the guy with the lowest fucking vocals in the whole place. So it was like, so for me it was always like the aggressive music was always what drove me. I went through some, struggle with mental health and stuff like that, which then led to the vibe not being there for me to make that style of music, which then birthed my Lonely Hours projects and my Iamblaize projects, which are just more of, I don't want to put it in that emo trap genre as much as I tried to make it with the ideal of being able to play it live with like a full band presence, just because that's kind of the world that I come from.
Okay, right, yeah.
All in all, I would say like my favorite to make obviously is like the hype shit. Yeah. Just because I don't picture myself really, I would rather perform hype music than perform sad music live, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. You want to hype up the crowd.
Yeah, it's that whole, like, I feel like there's just certain artists out there, their music's so somber and so laid back that it just doesn't vibe well for me in a live performance setting. As far as like I said, growing up in the hardcore scene, I'd rather go watch the crowd go crazy and the shit be heavy as fuck over watching like an acoustic band play.
Exactly, yeah. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were a part of a show with NASCAR Allo and QPVT, and I was wondering how that experience was.
That was like, it's my favorite show that I've ever performed just due to like the crowd response, the love. It was the first show that me and QPAT managed to do that was like huge. Like that dude busted his ass to put that whole event together. The venue itself was complete dog shit. It was so hot up in that middle, like it's mid-August, bro. Like there had no ventilation, so like in the back of a warehouse, so it was just stuffy as shit. I was about to pass out during my last song, and but overall, like the experience was super, super dope. NASCAR he was a genuine dude. Like I'm not the type of person to I don't want to overstep or come off like thirsty, so to speak, when like growing up, like I said, growing up in the metal scene, playing the shows that I played, like I met bands like Whitechapel and Pending Doom, shit like that, and it was always like just something super casual. Like you never really went out of your way to be like up in their face and talk to them to like get remembered. So I had a conversation, like I carried a conversation with him after my set and whatnot. We chopped it up, and he was just a cool, humble dude. That's kind of what made me I wasn't the biggest fan of his music beforehand, but seeing him perform live and chopping it up with him for a little bit definitely made me become a bigger fan than I was.
Hell yeah. There's kind of an infamous picture of NASCAR and Davey and Q with their pants down. What do you know about that?
I'd gotten out of there. Like, I sat through about half a NASCAR set, and then I had to leave because I was about to have a heat stroke in that motherfucker. I went back to the hotel and laid in front of the AC for like 30 minutes, and I woke up, and Davey had sent me that photo, bro, and I was just rolling. Like, that shit was fun. Because at the end of the day, like, people kind of get this notion with a lot of artists that we may be more serious than what we really are, but a lot of us are just fucking overgrown children.
Right. What do you think is the hardest part for you when you're doing a set?
Besides the fact that I smoke way too many cigarettes, it's I guess at this point it's just not being as known as I want to be, and not having a venue that's like packed out with my fans. Like the few shows that I've done that's been like a majority of my fans or a majority of people who actually were like aware of me and my music, it was a super dope experience. A lot of the times, especially here in Ohio, there's a lot of those like artist showcases where it'll be like fucking 10, 15 different rappers that are all insanely different. You got like boom bap guys matched up with trap metal dudes, and and it's just like it's hard to really pull your fans to a demographic like that. That's what made the NASCAR show so dope. Is we had a headliner who was in our genre, subgenre, whatever you want to call it, and then you got artists like me, QPAT, the homie Alo, Davey, who all have music that fits that same energy, that same vibe. So it was like, there was a lot of people there that knew me, and there was a lot of people there that didn't know me. But the people that didn't know me, by the end of my set, would turn up with me. So it's like, the hardest part about performing, I would just say, is more the crowd than anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, if the crowd knows your music, you can get away with a lot more of like just getting hype as fuck on stage. Whereas like if the crowd doesn't know your music, you really got to hit those bars, or it's just like everything kind of falls flat.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, what upcoming plans do you have? Do you have any songs, albums, anything coming out?
I'm currently working on an EP with my homie Ain't Loyal. He typically, I produce all my music. He's like one of the only producers that I've messed with over the last couple years, and he had sent me like 2 or 3 beats one day that were just like perfect. Like every single one that I hit, like I was just vibing. So I was like, yo, bro, we should make this shit a tape. He was like, you bet. And so I just released the cover art for it yesterday, and just kind of wrapping it up. Supposed to do a couple more songs for it. It'll probably be like 3 to 5 tracks, give or take. And, just kind of, it's a really aggressive project as comparison to, I would put it in like the same bracket as my Fight Club EP, just super like distorted 808s and, hype bars and repetitive hooks and, just in your face, a lot of aggression.
Right.
Other than that, I'm just kind of waiting for the world to open back up so I can perform. Like 2020 really put a damper. The COVID situation really put a damper on us artists that are up and coming. The more established artists. The more established artists have, their deals and they get hella streaming checks and stuff. So for artists like us that we really rely on, releasing music and then performing that music live just to get our sound out there. Like I had shows lined up for Texas and LA that got canceled in the beginning of the year. So then after that, it was just like, all right, we're just going to wait, see how this pandemic shit turns out. And then, here we are in December still in lockdown and shit. So
yeah, it's been rough. It's been a rough year. Let's see. Do you have any advice you would give to yourself with the knowledge you know now when you were just first starting?
Yeah, just be genuine. Don't chase after anything. Like, even going back to like my teenage years where I was playing in bands and shit, it was like the goal naturally, everybody's like musical goal is to make a living off of it.
Yeah.
It's just how you go about making that living is what really, in my opinion, defines how your adventure in this music industry is going to be. So, like, in my teenage years, it was just all about, I just wanted to be successful. I just wanted to make hella money. But I look back now, and if I would have obtained that success pre-18 or at 18 years old, like, I don't think I would have truly appreciated it for what it was. I would have probably, blew all my money, etc., on just dumb shit. Whereas, like, that shit taught me more about going about my rap shit than my rap shit taught me about, like, anything in this music shit. It's just being genuine at the end of the day. Like, some of the most successful people that I've ever, like, met musically were always just, like, they were themselves at the end of the day.
Definitely, I agree with that. So, take me through your songwriting process and recording process. How does it start and how does it finish?
Generally, I always cook my beats first. So I'll just be, chilling, smoking, whatever, and I'll get some inspiration or, like, I'll be listening to a song and I'll be like, ooh, I like that vibe, you know what I'm saying? That's, like I said, I make a lot of music off of vibes. So if I hear something I like, whatever, I'll make a beat in that vibe, and then I just put my, my natural spin on shit like I do. And so it always starts off with me, creating a beat. And generally, I know within, like, the first 4 bars of the beat, once I add, like, the hi-hats and snares or the 808, whatever, like, I know if I'm going to be able to fuck with it. And then I'll be, like, simultaneously, like, writing as I'm producing the beat and getting it to where I want it to be. And then it's just like a quick switch on the mic, read it off the phone, record that shit, and then I'll sit here, I'll engineer it all out, whatever, make the natural adjustments that I want, and then that's pretty much it. Like, there's some songs that take me 2 days to make, there's some songs that take me 10 minutes to make.
Right.
So it's like, there's also been songs where I've spent like 20 minutes on it and been like, yo, this shit fire, and it flop. And then I've had other shit that I spent fucking 20 minutes on that takes off. So it's like, it really just depends on the day and the mood, what I make as far as that much. But the process is always the same. Beat, write, record instantly, and then just engineer it out from there and make any changes I feel necessary.
Nice. Is there ever times you experience writer's block, and what do you do to overcome that?
Yeah, I go through writer's block pretty frequently, just because at the end of the day, I'm a musician more than a lyricist, you know what I'm saying? So when I got into making, like, with the birth of Iamblaize, it actually just started off as me just wanting to produce, because I grew up playing guitar, I grew up playing bass in bands and shit like that. So I was always the behind the scenes guy. I was always just the music dude. So, like, writer's block happens quite frequently for me, especially after, I feel like after you make so many songs, it's really hard to articulate, like, the same shit in different ways. So you really run into, like, having to stretch your vocabulary, or, like, get really, like, vividly creative or some shit like that. So for me with writer's block, I don't really focus on it, because I produce. So I'll just, like, make beats, and then eventually one of the beats will just kind of spark. Like, I'll start freestyling or whatever, and the beat will just kind of spark itself.
Okay, right. Can you give one piece of advice for upcoming musicians?
Don't fake this shit. At the end of the day, people will be like, people don't realize how much some botted numbers or some fake plays or whatever really is detrimental to how people respect them and treat them in this game. I may not have the flashiest numbers in the world, but I have a solid fan base. I got, I put up solid numbers on all my tracks, whatever, and it just comes from me being true to myself and true to my music. I'm not out here trying to bite nobody's sound. I'm not out here buying all these fucking placements and, numbers and all this shit,
Right.
Because at the end of it, you aren't gaining anything. People need to, a lot of artists in the beginning, they focus on trying to get other artists to be fans instead of trying to find fans.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
That to me is probably, like, the biggest piece of advice. Your peers will never, like, your peers may respect you, but your peers are not your fan base. And the sooner they realize that, the sooner they will have, like, a more success rate, I guess you could say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I gotta say, I think you're doing a great job, and you're doing something right, because I constantly have people telling me to check you out and do an interview with you.
Oh, that's awesome. Like I said, it just comes from that being yourself. You know what I mean? When with your interactions with people, whatever. Like, I'm the type of person that I answer every DM if someone shouts out my music. I like every post, because it's something that I genuinely appreciate, and
Right.
I feel a lot of they get jaded by what they're trying to achieve, and they don't realize how much building a solid foundation is really, really crucial in these early stages.
Definitely, definitely. What seems to be the most effective way of promoting yourself?
Honestly, it's like, at first I did the whole, tag a gazillion fucking people, and that didn't work. I tried the Facebook groups. That didn't work. It wasn't until I'd found a couple internet homies that just genuinely fucked with my music. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, it's like, for me now, it's all word of mouth. I don't really have any promotional tactics. I'll drop a song at, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday and just let it do its thing. And, like I said, that comes from people aren't confident in their product, or they are and they don't know how to just let it ride. Like, you're not going to get 1 million streams overnight. It doesn't matter how good your song is.
Right.
Without pumping some dollars behind that, you're not going to get those numbers. But those numbers don't always equate to fans. So it's just, like I said, putting out consistent music that is always quality will take you way farther than paying for anything.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. If you could make any changes to social media or the music industry, what would it be?
I wish artists could go back, like, social media wise, I wish artists could kind of go back to that allure behind the scenes. You don't really know too much outside of, like, a couple interviews. They do a Nardwar and you learn more there than you do anywhere. I don't really care for the whole, like, they got to know everything about you type shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part I change about social media. As far as the music industry, it would just be that talent would outweigh the dollars. There's a lot of people that pay their way to a certain status as far as numbers and followings, but they don't have the talent to back it up.
Right.
And that shit, you take a 6ix9ine for example. He was somebody who had tried to break into the music industry off of his music, which was never the greatest. But the moment that he interjected this crazy ass image with all this, trolling and everything else behind it, he was able to find success. That's a part of the music industry I don't like.
Yeah, me too.
I wish niggas like that couldn't get any bit of shine. Leave them motherfuckers in the trash where they belong.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a dream collab or a dream show?
As far as collaborations, I would really, really love to make a song with somebody like Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
Or Jose is another one that I would really want to make some music with. I'm not too huge on collabs as far as seeking them out, but there's definitely a few artists that I respect enough that I would want to work with in some capacity, whether it be production or actually rapping with them. Performing, I definitely want to get, I would love to do a show with City Morgue. I think that shit would be fire as fuck.
Yeah, that would be great.
The energy would just be insane.
Oh, definitely. So I got one last question for you here.
Alrighty.
What is your ultimate goal with music, and what steps are you taking to achieve that goal?
My ultimate goal is, how can I phrase it? It's I don't want a Drake or a mainstream level of success at all. That industry, that lifestyle doesn't interest me. I want to be, Puya is a good example. Bones is another good example. Night Lavelle. These artists that are able to, they don't have to be up on social media all the time. They don't have to be, out there all the time. But when they drop music, it's always they have that cult fan base. You know what I'm saying? So it's when they drop music, it automatically does numbers. If they do a show, it's gonna pack out. I just want to be the best way I can explain it is, I just want to be I want to be that underground legend, but slightly more successful than that.